Hello everyone. So in this video, let us talk about something really interesting, and this is related to career around Atlassian ecosystem. Now, in this video, I want to talk about a case where someone who just graduated from college joins a company as, let us say, a Jira administrator, and that person joins that company as, of course, a fresher with no previous work experience, only a college degree. Now in that case, of course, Jira is a great tool, and you can definitely do wonderful things with Jira when it comes to job. Now you may start with Jira administration or some work around Jira, but after a couple of years, or after let us say 5 years, you you decide to change your company, and then you move to a different field. Now I think this is probably not a very good idea, because if you are thinking of joining a company and your very first job is doing some work on Jira, most likely Jira admin stuff, then you should, after spending 5 years, you should probably take it further. Maybe you, as I have been mentioning in my previous videos, you should definitely look for consultancy, because you already have that great experience of working on a tool. You know everything about the tool. I guess that is after working on Jira for like 5 years. Maybe you were working in a big company like maybe Accenture, CTS, Infosys, and those big companies where they provide services, they take care of Jira instances, or not just Jira instances, they provide manpower to their clients. And the way these companies work, they basically provide. Manpower is probably not a fancy word anymore. It's called as augmented staffing, I guess, something like that. But basically, they provide people who can work on clients' projects. Now, and this is something that happens a lot, where I know people who have worked with me as Jira administrators, or I know people who have been doing something on Jira, and after like working for 4 or 5 years, they get bored, which is, to be honest, it is understandable. But instead of finding another job in the same field, they decide to maybe switch their field altogether, because after 5 years, I think getting an entry and getting the first job is probably more difficult than getting your second or third job, because your second job or your third job would be based on not only your skills but also your experience. And when you have already worked in the industry for some time, then you can easily learn a new technology, or not really always, but you can definitely, in the beginning of your career, in the initial 10-15 years, you can definitely get a new job, maybe in slightly different or some different technologies. But if you are a Jira admin and you want to move to a different tool, you should probably think of doing it, but don't really do it after 5 years. Maybe make this decision early on. Let us say you join a company and you do Jira admin work for 6 months, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, but don't really spend like 5 years and then make a move, because after 5 years you can actually take your Jira skills to the next level. Not only just Jira skills, but you can probably think, and you should actually think of doing consulting, because there is a lot of money in consulting. If you already are a good Jira admin, then you can be a trainer, and if you have technical background or you can code, then you can maybe move to automation integration, or maybe think of becoming a developer. But to be honest, these days, this might not be true in the past, but these days Jira should not be your primary skill. So if you're joining a company as a Jira admin, then always try to learn a new skill along with that. if if your job allows you, I think that is not really the case. Usually in a 9 to 5 job, you work 5 days a week and you have weekends, you have your evenings or maybe mornings. If Jira is all, if Jira admin, Jira support is all you're doing, then you should probably upskill, maybe get into some similar areas where you can learn about maybe, you know, if you're doing system admin, then maybe learn on the system admin side. If you are working on Jira Cloud, maybe learn development a bit. Or if you're on the management side, or if you want to get into management or consulting, for example, then maybe learn a bit more about project management, agile. So don't really keep Jira as your primary and only skill. And in this video, I actually wanted to share based on my experience, recent experience with few people, and of course what I've seen. People sometimes leave working on Jira altogether, and that is probably not the right thing to do, because you can actually do a lot with Jira. Even in 2023, I know it is mostly cloud nowadays, but still, after spending that much time, you should not really like do it abruptly. Maybe make a plan to, let us say after 5 years you are switching a job and you want to get into some other field, but think about what else you can do with your existing or previous knowledge of Jira that you can probably use maybe after 2 more years in that new company, and maybe you can join your third company, or maybe try to grow in the same company. But what I'm saying is that don't just leave that skill that you learned for 5 years, because I know it might be boring. You think it is boring that you're just doing Jira support work. I can understand after, especially when you're like doing some work where you're just reacting. You're just looking at the tickets and then you are resolving those tickets by creating some custom field options or workflow transitions or whatever. You think that you are doing something which is not really massively interesting or creative, but you have that knowledge, and not many people have that knowledge. So this is something that I wanted to tell those current Jira administrators. Preserve the skill and don't leave it abruptly. Of course, try to grow, try to find a better job, but try to complement your existing skills. And I guess in a way this is still applicable to a lot of other technologies or other areas where you may have been doing something which you think is not really relevant, but or maybe you don't like it anymore, but you should always think about what best you can get out of it. For example, I spent a lot of my early days writing Excel VBA macros, and I learned Excel VBA macros because I used to spend a lot of time in Excel sheets, unfortunately or fortunately, because that was required. I used to build some tools and do some analysis in Excel sheet. Usually when it comes to statistics, you need to do it in most cases in Excel. I know there are tools, but when you have data in Excel, you can play with it and you can analyze it. But when you're doing it for a long time, and when you're doing it over and over again, you should find ways to automate it and maybe build some tools on top of your Excel knowledge. So I'm really good with Excel, but I'm also equally good with Excel VBA, and that is something that I did because I had to save time. I was bored and I was trying to be creative with whatever I'm doing. And when I built my own tool in Excel for analyzing data, basically that tool was consolidating the timesheets and doing some calculations and showing actual versus plan versus actual, and schedule variance and earned value management, if you're familiar with EVM. And that knowledge was, of course, something which I applied on Excel, but I still had that knowledge, and that knowledge of doing project management, analysis, reporting, basically delivering and understanding the progress of your project is equally applicable to any other tool. Jira, of course, in this case. So whatever you're doing, it could be any skill set that you have, especially if you are a Jira admin. If you think you're not really doing great, reach out to me and maybe ask a simple question to me. I'll try to help, and I'll try to share my experience. All right, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new. Thank you very much. Bye bye.